Hello, my name is Arjon Zeus del Rosario. I am a NASA Spring Intern of 2021. My mentor's name is Dr. Samuel Hawker, and today I'm going to be talking about Common Layer Interface Quality Control. And before I talk about it, I'm going to talk about me shortly. I am a recent graduate from University of North Carolina at Wilmington. I have a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, and I also have a chemistry minor. All throughout college, I am also in the U.S. Army National Guard. I mainly worked with tanks and radio communications for the most part, and I love traveling and I love hiking. Future plans, I would love to get into web design, and I would also love to continue software development, which is what I do now in my internship. And if opportunity arises, I would also love to continue school. So you might be asking, what is common layer interface? When you think of a 3D printer, think of where all the instructions are coming from. How is that 3D printer able to make that object? And that's basically where a common layer interface comes in. It's just a set of instructions that tells the 3D printer what to make and how to make that object based on a layer by layer approach. So what could possibly go wrong with a bad CLI file? There are a lot of ways that can go wrong with it. Your 3D printer might work unexpectedly because of bad syntax in the CLI file, or you could be skipping some layers because some of the lines in the CLI file is not readable. And you could also have a half-made object because half of the CLI file is also not readable. And we don't want that to happen, obviously. And this is where my work comes in. I worked on this project called CLI QC. And what this program does is it basically makes sure that the CLI file is good enough to make a 3D object with a 3D printer. And this program will check for any kinds of errors. It will also give a feedback to the user what those errors are and where they are located exactly in the CLI file. And in addition to that, it can also provide some possible corrections to the user. And CLI QC is basically just a huge checklist that the CLI file has to go through. And these are some of the examples, which I'm just going to go through quickly. This is a file path exists. Does it have the CLI file extension? Does it have the correct basic syntax? For example, these $signs here, they're basically just an indicator of where the line starts in a CLI file. And these are required for a CLI syntax. Does it have all the necessary keywords? Do keywords parameters have separators? For example, you have these slashes in the circle here, and they basically separate the keywords from parameters, and without these slashes, the whole line will be read as a keyword, and that will be an error in the CLI syntax as well. So are all the spelling for keywords correct? And are parameters consistent? For example, do they all have the same data types? So here's the scenario of when this program might be useful. So the user makes a CLI file, he feeds it into the 3D printer, and the 3D printer will then make something that the user expects to have or something that is unexpected. And when the unexpected happens, the user will have to manually figure out what went wrong. And he will have to find out where that error exists in the CLI file. And not only is that going to be time consuming, that could also potentially cause some wasted expensive materials depending on what kind of 3D printer is being used. So here's another scenario. User makes CLI file. He feeds it into the CLI QC program, and it will check for any kinds of errors. If there are errors, then it will give a feedback to the user, and the user can keep doing this until he gets a perfect CLI file. If there are no errors, then he can feed it to the 3D printer, and the 3D printer will then make something that the user expects to have, or hopefully something that he expects to have. And this concludes my presentation. Hopefully you learned something from it, and thank you for your time.